There we go. So if you get a prompt asking you to accept the recording, please do that. And I will just double check to make sure. Can you guys all see Moodle just now? Is that what I'm sharing with you? Yeah. Yeah, good. Right, so hopefully then you've joined Moodle, you know where we're at. There is the WorldSkills UK Digital Construction BIM section, which you've joined. There is as well, there's like technical handbook that goes through some example type questions, but I've got even better than that for you tonight. There is the training materials link. And what I should point out is each of these, there are 30 plus videos, what we at 35 videos. That there's absolutely nothing that's going to come up in the next competition, which I'll show you an example of what it's likely to be. There's nothing that's going to come up that's not covered in any of these steps. Okay, so these were done quite a while ago and they kind of focus on BIM 360. We are obviously using Autodesk Construction Cloud now. We'll talk about that in a wee minute. But pretty much it's still Revit. It's the Revit model that we're making, the Revit structure, the Revit architecture, naming it properly, collaborating, and so on. So if you have time, what you will see is if I click on the first part just now, and we'll just pause it because I don't need to watch it, within the description of that, there is a data set link. There we go. And so there is actually a data set here that you could download a BIM execution plan, some completed task data sheet, the instructions for it. And this was a past competition. This was the competition from 2019 is what you're getting to see. And there's also drawings. So if you go in there, you'll get all of the drawings that you need. If we go into published, there are some files that you would need. And if we go into resources, some other files that you would need. Okay, so for example, the national qualifier document instructions tells you to start with a new template and it tells you which one to start with and it will be available here. Anything that you would need to open will be available here. Anything like file new, start with a template, or open on a commercial file or something, anything like that is there. In the tasks, as you work through them, it just tells you what you need to do. It obviously doesn't tell you how to do that, but the videos do. The videos show you how to do everything. And then at the end, there is some clash detection, some issues, tasks, and so on. And if I go back to here, and we'll go back one, all of these tasks are already covered. So how to set up Worksets, how to link in a file, how to copy monitor once you do. So you can be assured that everything that's here is going to be assessed either in the national qualifier, which is a one-day competition, or the national final, if you progress to that, which is a two-day competition. The real difference between the two is just the size of the model that you work on. All of these tasks are assessed or can be assessed on one or both of the days. Okay, so all the videos are there, the data set's there. Ideally, what you want to do is you want to click on it, watch it a couple of times. If you understand it, practice along with it. If you watch it and you think, I've already covered this at college, school, university, feel free just to practice along with it. So if you know how to hit collaborate and put something onto ACC, then by all means, just feel free to go and do that. If you know how to make Worksets, if you know how to use Worksets, if you know how to link in files, then again, by all means, just watch the video. 2 minutes, 1 minute. Some are, I think the longest in here is about 15, 16 minutes or so. They're all split up into really small, manageable chunks. There we go, visualization. What I will say is, big heads up, the practice tasks that I'm going to give you this year, which is brand new, something else to practice other than these videos. I'm going to tell you all there is no visualization section in the competition this year. So there will be a structural task, an architectural task, a Navisworks task in terms of creating clash detection, performing clash detection, and then issues. So within ACC, there will be a task where you're walking through the building and finding any issues and raising issues. And again, there are videos on this quality assurance. It's done in BIM 360, but it's really similar in ACC. Once you've gone over all these videos and you're comfortable with them, you are going to have very soon, if you've replied to me, some people will already have access to this. Some people have not yet replied to one of my emails where I asked you to send me, and I will be emailing. If I haven't got it from you, I'll email you again on Friday this week. I'm going to invite you to an ACC space. So we've got Autodesk Construction Cloud, the national qualifier. And when you click on that, there we go. I'm taken into here, and then we'll use docs. So the only thing you're actually needing to use is docs. You're going to see everybody's name in a little minute. You'll get to see all the other competitors that are in along with you. But there we go. So what I have done so far is I've created a folder with the school that you're going to attend for the cluster event. So either Belfast Met, New College Lanarkshire, Oxford Brookes, or Sheffield Hallam. So whichever one of those events you're going to, it's got that next to your name. What I want you all to do then is, as you can email me and initially you're kind of watching through the videos, each of you has a little space under your name that says practice in this folder. So if you click on that, you'll be able to make new folders in there and following the videos as well, create new folders and then practice to that area. It helps me before the competition to know that one, you can access this in Chrome and you can make new folders. So yeah, just add subfolders, that's fine. It also helps to see that within Revit, if you click collaborate, and it must be Revit 22, if you collaborate to this space, then we know that also works. So you have to use Revit 22 for that to happen, okay? There's also an area here called practice resources, and you're the first group to actually see this as a training material. So practice project primary school volume 3. After you've watched all the videos or you feel competent and comfortable that you can do all of these tasks, after that, I'm giving you a further training resource. So within here, there's all the resources that you might be asked to use. There's a Revit model validation checklist, a structural Revit template, a Revit conceptual project, a Uniclass grid reference, and so on. And if we go to documents, we'll see there's the drawings. Architectural task drawings are all there as PDF. Structural task drawings also there as PDF. And if I go in, there's the instructions and the exemplar instructions and BEP. Now, basically, I've got that already downloaded on my computer, right? So obviously, if you go to here and you tick the wee button and you tell it that you want to download that, you can download it. You will have access to this. You'll only be able to see it and download it. You can't upload it, you can't edit it, and so on. But if I go to something like drawings, architectural, there we go. So what you're going to be asked, there's a couple of floor plans from that. There's the other floor plan from that. So 3 floors from that, and then some 3D views and so on. So this will be a practice task. And what I would say is this has been designed to be really similar to the competition that you're going to sit in the 8th of June. Okay. So if you're looking at this, the levels are there for it. I think there's a couple of elevations actually missing. I'm just noticing a couple of elevations missing where it will give you dimensions for the curtain walling and things. But pretty much you're making that as an architectural model. What I will show you is, if I just go back through that and we look at drawings, architectural, oh, there we go, task instructions. So again, this has been updated, so it's exactly the same format as the competition this year. So it shouldn't surprise you. We've got Autodesk, Baker Hicks and Balfour Beatty sponsoring the World Skills Competition, and New College Lanarkshire end up supporting these companies, and these companies design the competition and create and write the competition. So this is your exemplar. Use it as a practice document, task instructions document. Again, on the day, you're going to be issued something like this, same format. It will tell you what it is that you're going to do. So you're going to create a structural volume, an architectural volume. We're going to do some federating, so class detection, and then visually inspect a federated model. So using ACC issues, for example. You might get times on this document. It's usually the times will be in the BEP, as we'll see, but pretty much straight away on this document. So this was a sample document. This one it's missing task A and task B. It's just been removed. That was a day one. This is the second day, for example. So on day one, competitors would have created tasks A and B, and then on day two, it would be tasks C, D, E, F, whatever. So it's quite clear. You get 15 minutes reading time before a competition starts. I would open up and allow you to actually download all of these and just actually read through them. You're not allowed to start anything. You would just get a chance to read them, and you're allowed to make notes and stuff. But begin a new project with the provided template. So that's in resources, as I said. So within Revit, file new and choose that template. Set up the project to that folder. And again, if it doesn't make much sense what it's asking you, watch the videos. The videos go through step by step and say, what does this mean? What does this mean? Okay, and what information is in here? It tells you that this is volume 3 of the structural engineering model. So that can help with the naming of the file, right? So we can go and find to name the file, it's the project number, the originator code, it's volume 3, it's the all-level structural model, and so on. Refer to the BEP and create all the work sets. So you see what I mean about each of these as a task, and you just follow it in order. It doesn't tell you how to do something, but the videos do, right? It doesn't tell you how to create work sets, but the videos do. So coming to the competition on June 8th, you should know how to create work sets. This just says, now go and make the work sets, okay? And it does say we have to go to the BEP. So also in the video, it will teach you how to use this. This is your BIM execution plan for the exemplar project, right? So the BIM execution plan here is a training BIM execution plan, and you'll be provided a different one on the day of the competition, but it will be exactly the same format. If the information in this one is in Appendix 2, it will be in Appendix 2 in the next one as well in the competition, okay? So we get lots of information. What's volume 3? That's what we're working on. If we remember, we're doing volume 3. It's called the Northeast Wing. It's an educational entity. There's lots of things that's telling you here that is pretty much what you're going to be asked to do. However, you only do whatever the tasks tell you to do. Okay, so we can ignore objectives somewhat. And then here, what's the project code? What's the project name? Who are the employers, the contact details, the project address, the site name, the project value, and so on. So lots of information is in the BIM execution plan. Let's look at a day of competing, and it's going to mirror this quite closely. But at 8:30 maybe start. We have a slightly smaller competition, so we're more likely to be starting 9:30 and finishing at 4 o'clock. This is a much bigger competition when it's a national final. But you'll be given some reading time, you'll be told a time to begin, and then you're told at what time each task finishes. So task C, that we can see here, there's task C, and we're going to do all of that. We have from that 9 until 11, and at 11 a.m., that must be uploaded, published, finished. You cannot, after that, open it and edit it. So if you speak to somebody at lunch and you think, oh, I never did that, you can't go and edit it. It should be locked down. That's your time that you have to have it uploaded by. If you've not finished all of the tasks, fine. You still have to just upload what you have done. That's how we're going to judge it. That's how we're going to mark it. The competition is probably, you saw the size of the building, it's huge. Most people will not finish it. That's how it's been designed. If you finish it, good on you. Go back and spend some time double checking it. But 90% of the people will not finish it. It's been designed that 90% of the people will get about 90% of the way through it. Okay, so task C in this case would be uploaded, and then we have a break, 11 till 11:30. And then at 11:30 until 1, you're working on the next task, and then you have a break and a break. Again, this typically won't happen on a normal day. This is usually just the national final. We're probably just going to have the one break, so we'll finish earlier as well. But then you'll notice here the next task, although there are a few breaks in there, people are working interrupted, I have to add, because there's 3 breaks in between, but people are working interrupted on task D. But at 4 o'clock, task D would be uploaded. And then at 4:30 and 5 o'clock, the next 2 tasks. These times are your deadline. That's the latest you can upload them. So if you finish this one at 10 o'clock, you can feel free to upload it and begin the next task an hour early. That's fine. You'll be given all the information at the start of the day to read and all the files you need. So again, the videos go through it all anyway, but just looking at it, things like the information exchange formats, what information do you need to provide? So if you're producing 3D models, you need IFC and native format up on the CDE. If you're federating models, the format should be Navisworks NWD. If you're producing drawings, it should be PDF and native file. Everything, this is what's getting uploaded to the CDE. Okay, and again, the video is going into a lot of detail on that. Again, there is a lot of information in this that you can literally just tear up and throw away if it was printed, but some information is really important. So when we get to the Kobe tasks, anything that's red auto means that the software does it for us already, but if it's not, it means you need to supply it. So you'll be asked at some point to type in your student email, your college or university, the name of this building. And remember, we saw that earlier at the top of the page, top of the document. So what's the name of the building you're working on? What's the name of the site? What's the name of the room or the space you're working in? Everything else is done automatically. So for example, Kobe.floor.name, that's how Revit calls that a floor.name. Revit calls that a level. Kobe calls it a Kobe.floor.name. So what's the level name? Space name is actually the name of the room. Okay, it says name of the room, but actually it's the here we've got the number of the room. But Kobe.space.floor name, Kobe.space.category, and so on. These are stuff that you've already typed in. So when you name a level within Revit, that's then automatically extracted. It doesn't do the same with the room name, okay, or the room number. So then we've got full site-wide project name. So in this case, Ravenscraig, whatever it is, East, West, Wing, whatever it might have been called. Okay. So again, the video goes into a lot more detail and you get exercises and step through it all. When we get to the point here that you are finished a task. So let's go and see. So here we've got make worksets, link in a file that you've been provided with, set the coordinates by acquiring them, copy monitor, create a plan view, a structural plan view for each of these new levels, copy monitor the grids, add structural columns, frames and beams. So go and create the structure, the slabs, assign uniclass information, import some Kobe project settings, add classification information as per the AIR that's in the BEP. And again, I'm just kind of skipping through this right now to this point. So validate. So it says step 14, collaborate. So once you've created all the model and it's got all the information in it, collaborate it from your work in progress folder to your task shared directory. Okay, and validate it and then issue it for coordination and publish latest. Now, if I come here, 3.4.1 in the BEP, and it will be the same place in the new BEP in the competition, it tells you what to do. So make sure your work in progress file is finished, or it's 20 minutes or half an hour to go. You know you're going to run out of time and this part will take half an hour. So you're going to take some time to do it, right? Your model's 75% finished. I'm not going to finish it. I may as well validate it and pick up points for this. Save a local copy of that onto your computer. So from work in progress, download it. Open that on your computer and then click collaborate to and put it in shared. and then use the model validation checklist that's provided to validate the one that's in shared. And what you're doing there is you are purging it, deleting links, getting rid of views, getting rid of mass models, and getting rid of all the junk that's in it, because you're going to share it with a different discipline. So architectural, you might be sharing with structural, for example. And then once validated, issue all models in the format required, right? So the format required, it told us at the top of this document, Revit and IFC, for example. Okay, and then issue the validation documents as well. And then here it will tell you how you actually name those validation documents somewhere as well. So once you've validated it, you're going to have your Revit model in shared, an IFC in shared, and a validation document in the admin directory. Okay, and again, I am skimming over it, but it all gets covered in the videos. Okay, it just makes more sense, I think, to see it after that. If you're sharing information files, it's the same thing. So if we're doing COBie or clash detection, same thing. It steps you through and tells you exactly how to share them. So what we don't want is an assessment for you, a competition that is vague. I'm not assessing whether you can read this and understand it. I am assessing that it should be clear. You should just know how to do it. That's it. Okay. Standards, methods, and procedures is what standards are we working to. So things like file naming, we're working to ISO 19650 is mandatory. R is recommended. So classifications, common data environment, and so on. But really everything that's been assessed, you will be made aware that you're being assessed on it. Okay. File naming, there we go. So project number, originator, functional breakdown, spatial breakdown. So it's ISO 19650 standards, form, discipline number, and then an optional description. And it goes through here and tells you what it describes it, but it will give you an example of that much later in the project. In fact, if I go down in the document, I should say, here would be an example. So pretty much you can only use for this example training document WSUK 21. All competitors work for WSUK. So there's your originator code. It says you are working on volume 3, so 03. It's a Revit model, so it's all ZZ, all levels. Native 3D Revit model file, M3. It was architectural or structural, and 0001. There you go. All of these are dashes in between, then an underscore for, if you want, you can add a description. For volume 3, it says northeast wing. Now it's optional, which means it's not marked if it says optional. So we have in there, it tells you exactly what you're looking for in terms of naming. If I go back up, it also tells you any documents that you want to name, such as the validation checklist. Okay, so when naming any documents, the project number is the project number, and the originator code is whatever the originator code is. So who do you work for? But it says the functional breakdown, the spatial breakdown, and the discipline all come from the model. So if what you are validating is volume 3, that should say 03 and ZZ. If it's volume 1, then it would say 01. Okay. TSP, because it's a text specification. And again, that's in the bottom of the BEP. It explains that in the bottom of the BEP. You're never, ever expected to know from the standards what it would be. It will be in the bottom of the BEP, and I'll show you that. And the model we're validating is the architectural model, or S if it's a structural model, and so on. And therefore, that would be the name of the validation document when you save it. Okay, but if I scroll back down to here, there we go. Text specification, such as a validation checklist, is TSP. List information exchange, COBie datasheet, LIE. M3, and so on and so on. Okay, so anything that you are producing and saving and sharing, then you'll find it at the bottom of that. Okay, next, the federation strategy. So that big purple part of the building there is what you're creating. So volume 1 is a separate model. Volume 2 is a separate model for structural and architectural. Volume 1 is named facility, name is West Wing, or volume 2 Southeast Wing, and so on. So you're working on volume 3, and it explains what happens with the grid lines. That's how it's divided. It's divided up through grid line 8, and I think grid line E or grid line D, depending on where it is here. Okay, now you'll be given all of these drawings, obviously. The drawings do indicate exactly where the model stops and so on, but just to give you an understanding of all 3 volumes together, what it looks like. Object naming, so that's not going to be, that would be at the national final. It wouldn't typically be in the national qualifier, where you create your own door families and furniture families, and then you have to save them using the standards that are here. Again, you're never expected to understand the standards. It tells you here exactly how to do it, and it gives you an example of, so source, type, subtype, description. If you were creating a door and you work for NCL, and it's the GRP 123 single flush door, this is exactly how you would name it. So you, in the BEP, you'll always see an example. I would never expect you to have a copy of a standard or reference a copy of a standard or just memorize the standards. You'll be glad to hear. Uniclass, so any files that are uploaded to the CDE must have metadata, and that would be the classification. Again, the videos show you this. It tells you that we have to use the PM table, and that will continue into the competition. So in the videos, I think we use the EN table or the CO table. In this competition, you'll be using the PM table. Okay, project-specific naming conventions. So how do you name or number, it says in this case, a space or a room? So if you create a room, there's an example of every single room would be numbered. Instead of just 1, 2, 3, 4, it's going to have the level -RM to signify a room, and then room 1, 2, 3, 4. And if it's a flat or something, it's room 1A, 1B, and so on. It also shows you that. Also levels, and you can work through it, you can practice, but it covers that. And again, any status codes. Now, status codes were at the bottom of this, actually, almost. So anything in work in progress would be S0. Anything that's shared specifically for coordination would be S1, information S2, review and comment S3, or stage approval S4. And you'll be told that in the task, issue for coordination. So you want to go straight to here to say, well, that should be S1 then, that I would use. Okay, so again, nothing is in here to trip you up. We've tried to be really clear. The survey point and project base point, you'll be asked to either set or move, and they should sit on grid reference A1, so where A and 1 cross, and it gives you the easting, the northing, the elevation, and the rotation for them as well. So you'll be expected to set them or acquire them. Work sets. So if you're in volume 1, 2, well, in this case, we're doing volume 3. So we're replacing the asterisk with a C, right? So C dash external walls, C dash internal walls, C dash windows, and so on, and so on, so on. Shows you, again, an example. Now, what I would say is the BEP is going to be almost identical to the qualification, national qualifier, 8th of June. So the more you can use this and get understanding it and be familiar with it, it will remove the amount of time you'll spend reading it during the competition or trying to understand what is meant by this. Okay, so if you understand what it means before it and you go into it, you will understand it in the competition. Just some other information, no file should be greater than 200 megabytes and so on. It's not up to you to split anything up. You're only doing what the tasks ask you to do. And again, it repeats the survey point and etc. Model units and everything will be set up for you. We are using ACC. I'm the document controller on ACC. It tells us here in the asset information requirements what information is actually required. So if we go back to the top of the BEP, it tells you some timings. In task C, then D, E, and F would be task C, D, E, and F, and it tells you that it would be information exchange 1, 2, 3, and 4. So after task C, you would be looking at everything that's in here. So task C was obviously a structural task. You are expected to then assign to all the columns in the framing from the product table. There we go. Carbon steel columns or carbon steel beams. So using the Uniclass 2015 classification add-in within Revit, you're going to assign to all of the columns that code. Now, I don't give you the code. I ask you to go and find it yourself, right? And then same thing with the beams. So that would be information exchange 1, But you'll notice there's a special one here. In all stages in the model, you need to assign facility classification. And in this example, it's using the entities table and it's looking for educational entities. Okay, so at the end of each, or during each task, when it asks you to go and find the information, there we go. So where were we at? Create the work set appropriate, copy monitor, ensure, yeah, BIM interoperability tools class, load that in, Kobe, and there it is there. So this step here tells me to go to the AIR, there I am, and it's task C, which will tell you in the BEP task at the top. Task C is information exchange 1 or 2 or 3 or 4, whatever it is, and you just do everything that is for 1 or 2 or 3 or 4. So 1 in this case is structural, so is 3, because it's columns and beams, whereas 2 is ceilings and soffits, and so is 4, and so on. So do 2 different structural models, 2 different architectural models in this case. And then here, you have to assign and extract and share Kobe data on walls, doors, floors, and roofs, is what you're asked to do. Okay, and again, showing you how to do that is in all the videos. It shows you exactly how to assign and make sure the data can be extracted and then shared. Again, project code, how to name, status codes, and at some point, if we go through your tasks, so task A was a structural model, task C, so the first one we were doing in the sample. Task D is an architect's model. Okay, so that's pretty much where your drawings are, that's your architectural model. And then after this will be E, which would be clash detection, and it will tell you to refer to here. So you'll be provided with a structural model and an MEP model and an architectural model. And then you'll be asked to put 2 models together and run 3, 4, 5 clashes, and then put a different couple of models together and run again 2, 3, 4, 5 clashes. Okay, so I'll show you that in here in a wee second. So architecturally, open, so instead of file new, it's actually open an architectural file that will have either a mass model in it or some generic walls. Put it in the right folder, so collaborate it, make the work sets for this model, link in the model you had in the last task, and then set all coordinates by acquiring them from there. Now, something I want to point out, if in task C, you don't set the coordinates, so you don't do it right, here, you won't lose any points. You'll already have been penalized in the last task. So as long as you've brought it in and you have the same coordinates, you'll pick up the points. Okay. You'll lose them in the last task because it says set the coordinates as per the BEP. You go to the BEP, you find northing, easting, and so on. If you see it, great, and you set it, great. And if it's right, brilliant. If it's not, you'll only be penalized once. And that goes for everything all the way throughout. If you're linking in your structural model, so here, set up a project, link in your structural model, anything you take from your structural model, if it's not right, it's only marked wrong in the structural model. It's not marked again here. Okay, so copy and monitor the levels, create some new floor plans this time, it says, and ceiling plans, don't miss that. Copy and monitor all the grids, copy and monitor the floor, move something, and once you move something that's been copy monitored, you'll get an error, and it asks you to deal with the error through performing a coordination review, and postpone that and add a comment. Add all external walls, there we go. So you'll be given all the walls. You may be asked to make your own walls and wall styles, but you'll never use them, because I don't want you to make a wall style and you don't make it correctly, and then it affects the size of the model. So anything you're asked to model, so adding in all the walls, windows, doors, floors, ceilings, and so on, stairs, you'll be provided with the correct style. Okay, so in this case, it's telling you, looking at the drawings, you'll see better, but on the base level, use this type of wall. On the first and floor level, first and second, use this externally. If it's a curtain wall or a roof, use all these types. Okay, then you might get some notes. So in this case, all of the, it says the SFS external walls should be no more than 1 story in height. Create each wall on its level. So the walls on the ground floor only go to the next one above. The walls on the first floor go up to the next level, and so on. But it says curtain walls extend all the way to the roof. Okay. Use the grid lines to define the boundary of the roof. So typically, you'll notice this, it's not got 4 external walls. There's external walls missing to the side. And in plan view, you would just use the grid line to define that. There we go. So if I was drawing a roof, I would use grid line C to define where the edge of the roof is, for example. Okay. Add all doors to the exterior, and it tells you which ones. Add all internal walls. And again, it goes into a lot of detail telling you which ones to use, but it then gives you lots of notes as well. And again, it'd be really good if you get used to that and see what it means, just even understanding it. All internal doors, add ceilings to every room. If it's a WC or a shower room, use this type. All other rooms use this type. And you also notice there's a difference in height as well. Okay. Add architectural floors. It tells you which, and there are usually notes on that to give you a little bit more information, or a little additional drawing will show you some additional information on that. And then change your view computation settings, add rooms, number and tag the rooms, and then assign, again, this time, all the uniclass information to windows, doors, and whatever, anything that's back in the AIR that's here. There we go. So if we're on the next task, it's ceilings and soffits, it's doors and windows, facility, floors, roofs, light steel. So that's your internal walls, external walls, and again, curtain wall and exterior glazing. So all of them get information assigned to them. So even that task there could maybe even take you 20 minutes, half an hour or so. And then we've got COBie. So in structure, there was no COBie, but in the architectural tasks, there will be COBie. And it asks you to create your own contact details. I'll give you the email, or it will be using your own, the one that you have your Revit license to, it will tell you that. And then when exporting the information, use whatever email address you've actually just made. Let's see. Assign your classification information as per that. It should say AIR that's in there. Instead of AIDP, it should be AIR. Back to here. And then extract COBie. And again, look, every task finishes like this. Collaborate that to shared, validate it, purge it, etc., and issue everything for coordination and make sure everything is published latest. There you go. So every task, typically architectural or structural, will finish the same. Okay. We mentioned at the bottom of this, you will have your class detection, and it says here, using Navisworks Manage 22, federate both validated structural and architectural models. In this case, you're going to take your own. Usually it will be from a different folder called published. I'll give you them. I've already designed the models to have 10 or 12 errors in them, and you have to find them. So it says just opening that might take up to about 15 minutes. So in Navisworks, when you get to the videos and you're following along and you're putting 2 or 3 buildings together, it can take quite a while to open. Just ignore it. Leave it. Don't try and speed it up. Just leave it and let it do what it's doing. Here, what I have done is I've given you as an example, do these clashes. Typically, they sit here in the BEP. Okay, but because this is an exemplar, it's a practice, it pretty much is just going to let you do it all here. I'm just giving you some nice simple ones to do. And then what you've got to do with each one is set a camera view and set it to the viewed. If you think it's a problem, add a comment to it. So if you get 6 or 7 clashes, zoom into them, spin it around, let's see what it looks like, and then add a comment. Export everything as per the BEP. Now in the BEP, it told you at the top how to do that. It goes through the steps that are in there. That was up at the same point of how to coordinate and validate a file when you download it, local drive, open it, collaborate it to shared, purge it. It's in the same page as that. It takes you through each step. And then issue all files. So you're going to have all your reports are zipped. Again, the videos cover that, and Navisworks file, NWD, NWF, whatever it is that the BEP asks for. And then the last task, open up a model that I'm going to provide to you, or in this case, just open up your architectural task. Link in the structural model into that. So in Revit, open it, link that in, and then typically what you would do is you would save that as a coordinated model and put it in ACC. So if you open up your Revit model, link in structure, bind the link, just hit file save, and then put it into ACC in a work in progress folder, for example, or I'll provide you one. it will say visually inspect the project for any issues. And again, there's a whole video on how to create issues, but pretty much for every issue you see, there's a ceiling missing for a room. There's a door missing. The door's in the wrong place. The ceiling is too high or too low, whatever it is, something's blocking the window. Anything that you see that you think that's an issue, this is what you're going to do. Add only the room number in the location details box. If the issue is on the exterior of the building, who thought of that? Add exterior instead of the room number. So if it's something on the outside of the building that's wrong, that's what we would add. And then assign the issue to yourself. So in ACC, when you are assigning issues, you can actually pick your own name, just pick you, and then put in some comments. Okay, so you're not allowed any help. This is you and an assessment of your abilities. Genuinely, folks, it's going to be the top 8 people who progress. So everybody here is being invited on the 8th of June to take part. Let's see your skill level. Let's see where you're at. The top 8 people, the top 8 scoring, will be invited to take part in the national final. And at the national final, we'll all be there and we get to stand and watch you, put you under even more pressure. So don't think, actually, we'll get somebody to help me. It genuinely doesn't help. You're only allowed access to ACC and the NBS toolkit, etc. You're not allowed to search using the videos. You're not allowed YouTube. You're not allowed F1. You're not allowed to Google it. You're not allowed anybody in your office or company or whatever to help you. And you're not allowed to use Dynamo scripts or any other programming at all. You must do everything manually. Everything has to be completed within the times. You'll see the times and you'll be reminded of that kind of on the day. This just gets you used to working to those speeds. Here's tasks C, D, E, and F. And I should point out the scores. So there was tasks A and B from day 1, 14 and 28 points. So about 17-ish points, 27 points. So the architectural task is quite a bit bigger and takes a lot longer. Okay. But the coordination task, if we look back up, if I go to the BIP, takes very little time at all. Half an hour, I think it is, in fact. Yeah, so let's go down to here. And you'll see your times. There you go. So from 4 o'clock, you would finish that task. 4:30, you need to be finished. In this case, for this one, the one you're doing, this example I've given you, it would be half an hour to do the clash detection task, and then half an hour to do the issues task. So if you think about this as a day, everything you've got, you could start this. If you've got a day to yourself and you love doing this, like me, and you're a geek, and you sit down at 8:30, the introduction to it is typically me just speaking about the building for the day and the project that you're working on. But at 8:45, you would get the instructions, the BEP, all the drawings, and you would have 15 minutes to look through them. At 9, you would start, and obviously you've got some breaks in here. At 5, you would finish. So looking at task C, you've got 2 hours. Okay, so task C, when we looked at that, was the structural modeling task. And if I look at your drawings and we look at structural, what do we have? Let's see. Volume 3, grids, we got it here. Let's see. There we are. So that's up at the kind of roof level. We typically would have, you've got all the grids to create. You've got all the levels to work and put in. You would have, there we go, all of that steel work to create and all of the structural slabs to create. So think you're going to open a brand new file, create the grids, the levels, set your base points, create the work sets, create all the steel work that you see there and all of the slabs that you see there, and assign classification uniclass information to the model and validate it and save it to ACC in 2 hours. So this is why I've been giving you this, is it gives you a really good understanding. If you look through all the drawings are there for you. This is an enormous resource to make. For me to make this, I should point out, just to actually design it and make it was probably about 4 weeks worth of work to put everything together for you. But it gives you it by each level. So all the steel work is there, all of the slabs are there and so on. So as you work your way up, there's level 2 and so on. So everything, every single piece of information you could ever want for this as an exemplar is there. And it just for you, start looking at Can you create that in 2 hours? There you go. If you need help, that's what the YouTube videos are for. They should take you through the whole thing. If you've done the videos and you're stuck, or we can work through, speak to your instructors, speak to your lecturers. If they're struggling, they can't get it, I'm quite happy to jump on, and maybe next week, the week after, let's have some other little webinars if we need to do some instruction and show you how things are done. Okay, but pretty much we're looking at, if you have now, you've got all of this. The practice resources are there. It's got all those things I was just taking you through, the documentation, the drawings, the instructions, everything's there, and you can practice as much as you want. If you want to see this, you need to reply to my email that said, send me your Autodesk email address, and I'll then add you to this. I'll give you a license and I'll invite you to this project as well. Okay. Now, just to finish this off at my part, I don't want to, and it's probably too late, I do not want to scare the living daylights out of anybody. This was designed to be too big. Remember that. You should not finish this. 90% of the people will get 90% of the way through it in the 2 hours, right? But what are you going to do if you're practicing it? You're going to get quicker, right? Creating grids, create levels, create grids and levels again, create these grids and levels again and again and again, and you'll be making them honestly in 5 minutes. You'll be able to make all of these grids from file new, set the project base point, grids and levels in 5 minutes. Okay. If you don't practice, you're not going to qualify. That's it. If you want to do it just to take part, you're more than welcome to do that just to take part. You'll have these training resources forever. You'll have the videos forever. You'll have all of these drawings and data sets forever. You can keep them and you can practice whether you're a competitor or you're not. You can get access to help. You can ask us for help. We're more than happy to help you, even if you're competing or not. Okay. And then the big news today was, yeah, Team UK was announced, wasn't it? Don't know if anybody saw that. So let me have a wee look. We had that. While I'm looking for that, did anybody else have any questions I haven't specifically answered?
I have one regarding the time you have. If
Yep.
you finish a task early, can you start straight away on the next task, or do you need to wait until the time it says?
You can start early, yeah, absolutely. So if you've finished, so see if you get really good at the structural modeling and you finish the structural modeling task in an hour, listen, see if that's what you do and that's your skill, then you've now got, instead of 2 hours in the next task, you've got 3 hours, absolutely. The deadline time is the latest you can submit something. You can submit it as early as you want. Okay, now I just point something out here. In 2019, the cycle after national qualifier, the top 8 people went to national final. The top 3 young people were selected from that. So if you are around about 23 right now and you're competing, you are considered a World Skills age eligible young person. If you're not, right, if you're going to be too old to take part in World Skills International, don't worry about it. You can compete in the UK and your aim is to win a medal, right? Let's get the medal for the UK. That's it. In the national final in mid-November, you're going to go for a medal. Great. If you're in the top 8 and you are young enough to go to World Skills International, so it's not World Skills UK that set the age limit, it's World Skills International. That's what we would have here. And you'd be allowed to go. So this year in October, I'm taking one person. So the best in the UK at this competition is Mona, and she's going to go and compete on behalf of Team UK. And there's something like, is it, what we are, we're at something like 39 people. So if we look down here, there's Lewis Batchelor, Mechanical Engineering CAD. So we do digital construction, but there's Mechanical Engineering CAD. There's Mona, Digital Construction, from New College Lanarkshire, now going to Balfour Beatty. And this is the other thing for you all to remember. Balfour Beatty, Baker Hicks and Autodesk sponsor. You must have noticed that, right? So they sponsor the competition. It's all over these. And the reason they sponsor the competition is they want access to you. So Balfour Beatty have seen that Mona is going to go to Shanghai. She's the best young trainee, if you like, in the UK. and they took her on. They poached her from the company she was already at. They're stealing her. The people she was up against were from Baker Hicks, GM Architects, etc. So it's definitely a way to get it on your CV. But if you're at the national qualifier, please be aware these people will also be turning up to speak to you and observe who's good. And again, it's back to who puts in the practice. That's the only way to be good, right? How to be good in the competition on the 8th of June is to practice this one. If you don't know how to do it, you watch a video and the video shows you how to do it. And then in this one, you practice. This one that I'm giving you, structurally and architecturally, is the most like the June competition that it ever will be. Okay, so it's been made really similar. What I will do is I will add an elevation drawing that shows you the dimensions of the curtain walling. I will add that, and I'll put it in as a little corrigendum, just a little addition. Any other questions? No. So pretty much, I am available on WSUK BIM at nclan.ac.uk. You can email me. I'm Michael, I'm sure you all know that. You get lots of emails from me. I appreciate that. If you haven't emailed with your license, do it today, and we'll get you set up. I can only say just practice. If you want to have another webinar next week, the week after, and so on, I'm happy to do them. If you qualify for the national final, you'll actually be invited up to Motherwell and we'll do some training. You'd get a whole weekend of training face-to-face. The top 8 people will all get brought together and I'll do some training. So that's it from me, is just if you practice, you'll do well. Genuinely, and I mean this, if you all practice and you all do really well, only 8 of you can go forward. But you know what? If there's somebody better than you and you practiced, it's just somebody's better than you. It's not a bad thing. Somebody's better than me. A lot of my students are actually better than me already. So there's always somebody better, right? On the day, somebody's going to be better. The best chance you can give yourself is just to practice it. Totally agree. I know you're all going to say we're all busy. We're full-time students, Michael. We've got part-time jobs, Michael. And I totally agree. As I said, I'm leaving this one to go to a meeting at 6 o'clock that lasts till 9 p.m. Don't know why I say yes to things, but I just keep saying yes. But this genuinely is something that even if you don't progress, you will have learned an enormous amount. It's here for you to use. Okay, folks.
Thanks, Michael.
You're more than welcome.